Yamawaki.
And he is tough. Full twisting double back somersault for an opening. No deduction on it. A piked double back for a second pass. Nice style, too. The Japanese were the first to really introduce individual style to floor exercise performance back in about 1964. Before then, it was just trick after trick after trick, and then the Japanese began to take liberties with it, and it's caught on all over the world. Piked side somersault. Has to show strength, which he's done, flexibility, naturally endurance, but primarily strong tumbling. Now that's a scale or arabesque. Shows balance. Here comes his dismount. Should be another double back somersault. Oh, he gets it up in the air. A little short, about a 2/10 deduction, Chris, but not a bad exercise.
They enjoyed it here in Hamamatsu, Japan.
Chris, let's take another look at the style that I alluded to earlier. Watch this piked Arabian to his stomach. Takes it up in the air, right down to a front-leaning rest on his stomach, and that's very nice.
And for Yamawaki, the judges awarded him a 9.6. Now, one of America's best, Peter Vidmar of Los Angeles, this 20-year-old. Let's see how he does on the horse.
He's good on the horse. He likes to work the horse. He's doing a lot of one pommel work now. Very difficult. Now there's the Magyar spindle. It's counter rotation. His body goes one direction and his hips are rotating in the other.
Now, in the second rotation, 20-year-old Scott Johnson of Colorado Springs, Gordon.
And Chris, he is a talented ring performer. He starts off strong, reverse kick to a cross, a big strength move. Now he has the perfect body type for the rings. It's rather short, even for a gymnast. Kips back up. Now he has to press to a handstand. This is one of the requirements. Later on, he'll swing to a handstand, which is also a requirement. Here comes a swing, a giant swing forward. Catches it, a little bit over-rotated. Generates a bit of swing. Now a giant swing backwards. Gets the ring stopped. Well done. And here comes his dismount, a half-in, half-out double flyaway. Pretty good exercise, Chris.
Scott Johnson, a member of the two-time University of Nebraska NCAA championship team. Johnson, a three-time All-American, is awarded a 9.45. You're looking at Kyosho Goto, and before he works on the horse here in the second rotation, let's get to know him better.
It's natural that many of the men who have created Japan's rich heritage in gymnastics come from a most populous city, Tokyo. 26-year-old Kiyoshi Goto, a graduate of Nippon University of Physical Culture, has for the past 4 years been employed by the Tokyo branch of Kyoto Bank, where he works as a marketing analyst. This bank, like many other Japanese companies, support the National Amateur Sports Program by employing world-class athletes on a flexible schedule. Kyoto Bank, in fact, has its own 6-man gymnastics team, and 3 of the gymnasts are on Japan's national team. Goto works from 8:45 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. He then returns to his alma mater for a somewhat lonely training session. 7 days a week, Kiyoshi begins by running a mile. He then spends about 45 minutes stretching and warming his body up. But the meat of the session is the time he spends on the 6 Olympic disciplines. While Goto does from time to time consult his former collegiate coach, he is for the most part his own coach, following a training program of his own design. Kiyoshi Goto enjoys all the events, but feels the high bar has to be his best. I asked Goto about his aspirations for the 1984 Olympic Games. Here's the translation of his answer.
He will be satisfied if he can perform at his best with no regrets.
And here in the second rotation, Goto is ready to work the 2 wooden pommels of the horse.
And he is one of the better horse performers in Japan's illustrious gymnastics history. In the beginning, he works crosswise to the horse, does a single pommel, travels all the way across. Now get ready for the Magyar spindle right there, that counter rotation move. that Vidmar also had in his exercise. There's the
Part 7 inches in diameter. Goto.
Now, Goto has a very strong start. He'll kick into an immediate planche. Now, the planche, his body will have to be parallel to the ground. There's his planche. Nice. He'll drop out of that now and show you another strength move, his press to a handstand. And from here on in, it should be all swing. Giant swing forward. Nice. Now, probably a giant swing backwards. Equally nice. And a half in, half out, double flyaway. Half twist in each of the somersaults. There you go.
Goto of Japan. Gordon and I reminisced about the rings event in the 1976 Montreal Olympic Games. The Olympic Games always bring out the best in athletes and provide for many memorable moments. Gordon and I, in covering the 1976 Montreal Olympic Games, saw the Japanese men's gymnastics team dominate the competition with skill and experience. But in one case, we saw another ingredient, a display of incredible courage. And Gordon, if a 10 were ever awarded for guts in competition, Shun Fujimoto would get it on all the judges' cards.
Oh, for sure, Chris. When the finals of the team competition began, the Japanese had the narrowest lead over the Russians, and the Russians were gaining. And with 6 people on a team and only the top 5 scores counting, everything Fujimoto did was absolutely essential to the Japanese team effort. When this performance began, we knew that the Japanese had fallen about a point behind the Russians and feared being upset in the team competition. What we didn't know was that Fujimoto, in his first event of the day, floor exercise, had fractured his knee, but was attempting to compete in spite of the pain. In his second event, Fujimoto completed his pommel horse routine with no apparent hazard, but dismounting from the horse provides very little danger. The ring event, however, is a different story. Can you imagine slowly working your way through this exercise, knowing you would have to finish it to a full twisting double flyaway to a broken knee? Now, at the time, we thought he had injured himself on that dismount, the pain registering on his face. We later found the truth. Now, watch in slow motion. You'll see him twist his body slightly in the air to try to take some of the pressure off of that injured leg. Not enough, however, to avoid very much of the discomfort. His body is listing just a little bit to the side as he comes out of his full twisting double. And with that dismount, Shun Fujimoto became a hero all over the world. The Japanese team did, however, while only using 5 men in each event, managed to eke out a narrow victory over the Russians and maintain their supremacy in the 76 Olympic Games.
Roy Palassou was only 14 years old when Fujimoto performed in Montreal.
Now, Palassou has a very difficult vault. It's a handspring piked front somersault, a blind landing, very difficult to land. Ah, not bad.
In fact, good. Goto earlier got a 9.45 on the rings.
Now, let's watch this vault again. Now, since he can't see the floor, it's difficult for him to tell when he put his feet down. And he over-rotates it just a bit and has to take that one step forward.
And Roy Palassou with a 9.6 on the vault. Moving to the rings now in the third rotation, 24-year-old Kyoji Yamawaki.
And at the top of the show, I had touted him as the odds-on favorite in the all-around. Actually, after the first 2 rotations, Chris, he is tied with Goto for 3rd place, behind, of all people, Peter Vidmar and Tim Daggett. So he's got to play a little catch-up here. Here comes his press. As I said earlier, one of the requirements, rings nice and steady. Fails out to a giant swing forward. Over-rotates it just a tad. Giant swing backwards. Let's see if he gets the ring stopped. Very nice. Now he'll get set up for his dismount. Should be a half-in, half-out double flyaway. Oh, in a pike position. I like it, Chris.
And the crowd here at Municipal Gymnasium in Hamamatsu enjoyed it as well.
Let's watch it again in slow motion. Most people tuck. He does it just flexed at the waist. That's a very nice dismount.
And the judges award him a 9.6. Peter Vidmar of the United States in the vault.
Vidmar now will attempt a piked front handspring front somersault. Again, a very difficult landing. Oh, too bad, Peter. Got to hurt him in the all-around.
And the judges have awarded Peter Vidmar a 9.2 in the vault. But despite that disappointing score, the United States continues to lead Japan men's competition by almost a point. It's cold inside, but we'll return to Japan after this. The USA versus the world in Olympic events continues from Hamamatsu as the United States is meeting Japan in gymnastics. You're looking at 19-year-old Tim Daggett. We're in the fourth rotation. The United States holding on to nearly a 1-point lead over Japan. Tim is a sophomore at UCLA, a native of West Springfield, Massachusetts. Performed extremely well at the Sports Festival in Syracuse. And ready now on the parallel bars.
And Chris, Tim has an interesting start. He does a stalder up, hops to the other bar, glide, shoot. And now he has to turn back in. Gets to the handstand, or pirouette over to both bars. Very good start. Stitch hand, back hawk, toss to a handstand. And we should be seeing his double off there. That's a fine exercise.
19-year-old Tim Daggett, a member of the world and national team in 1981, has competed against East Germany, England, Puerto Rico, and now in Japan. He gets a 9.5 as we look at Shishiro Kanai, 26 years old and a member, one of the three on this Japanese team that were on the world team. And the young ladies are warming up for their events coming up here as the United States meets Japan.
And Kanai will be attempting a layout Sugahara, which he does pretty well. He doesn't get around far enough, I don't think, for a real good landing. He's a little low on his landing. Let's watch it again. Comes in fast, gets a very good push-off. Now, he breaks form just a bit in his knees as he's coming around, and he has to bend them considerably in order to get them into the mat.
And Kanai's mark is 9.6. Now on the parallel bars in the United States, Peter Vidmar.
He has a nice start now. And he overturns a little bit on his pivot. Saves it. Nice pulling through from his V seat to a V pressed handstand. He'll turn back into the bars. Now watch this. A Diamondov to one bar. Back out with a straddle shoot up. Back into the bars again. That's a nice combination. There's this Stitz handstand. Walks in the handstand. Vidmar is not as strong in these last two events as he was in the first two events when he was leading in the all-around. Has not helped his cause at all, Chris. Now here comes his double off. Nice double off, but Chris, I'm afraid that routine simply will not score very well.
You were so right, Gordon. He needed a high mark, but he got only a 9.2.
That's got to drop him well down in the all-around, Chris.
Here is Yamawaki, the overall leader.
He'll be attempting a vault called a cuervo, which is a front handspring on the horse, then a half turn, and then a back somersault out of the half turn. Very complex vault, and very well done.
Kyoji Yamawaki of Japan, and he gets a mark of 9.7. Consequently retaining his overall lead, and for the first time now, the Japanese have taken over the team lead. We'll return to Hamamatsu after this. With completed. In 76, the floor exercise provided a bright moment for the USA.
The American men had adopted a motto, 44 and no more, meaning that it had been since the 1932 Olympic Games, or 44 years since any American gymnast had won an Olympic medal. Peter Corman turned it around with this performance. He was awarded the bronze medal and indeed broke the 44-year jinx. This also heralded the resurgence of American men's gymnastics. In 1978, Kurt Thomas won America's first gold medal in a world championship, and then 1 year later, Kurt won 2 more gold medals and was joined in history by Bart Connor, who won the parallel bars.
Peter Corman, bronze medalist, now an assistant gymnastics coach at the United States Naval Academy. Here's a hopeful for the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles, 20-year-old Roy Palassou of Santa Clara, California.
And Palassou will begin with a pike double back somersault. Lands it a little bit low, but not a major problem. I think Palassou is a real comer. He's been hovering around the national scene and has finally broken through. There's a 4.5 twister to a double twisting back somersault. About a 10th deduction on that landing. There goes his Thomas Flair on the floor. Oh, you see that everywhere now. Now watch the flexibility here. Out of his lateral splits into a straight arm, straight leg press to a handstand. Now he'll do a front somersault step out into a back with a full. Move to the corner with some sort of a little straddle leap and get set up for his dismount. Should be a double back somersault. Roy Palassou with a pretty good performance.
And who seemed to go in every direction off the floor here in Hamamatsu, Japan, gets a 9.5 for his efforts. And now Yamawaki on the high bar, the overall leader.
Boy, he is dynamite in all the events, and no different here. He'll show you 2 one-arm giants. There you go. Now here comes a front somersault re-catch. Nice. Doesn't even scare you when you do it that well. There's his inverted giant. Shoots it a little bit flat. He'll come out, pivot. Now he's getting set up for a half in, half out double flyaway. Oh, nice routine.
Yamawaki, 24-year-old sensation of the Japanese team. Yamawaki continues to excel, getting a mark of 9.7. Peter Vidmar now of the United States.
Well, even though Peter is working last in this event, I don't feel it's his strongest event. Here comes a pike double back, which he could not make in warm-ups and barely made there. Now he'll do a V-seat press to a handstand. Take some long fingers to pull that one off. Now here comes a half-twisting walkout. Yeah, okay. Almost out of bounds. Now Peter's catching his breath, kind of waiting for the bell to ring. Back to the corner. There's the bell. Means 50 seconds. He now has 20 seconds in which to finish this scale. And to show you his finale, which will be a double back somersault. Oh, Peter, a little bit low.
Peter Vidmar of the United States. And his mark is 9.15. The overall leader keeping warm, Yamawaki, as Goto moves to the high bar. In the World Championships in 1981, he performed to a perfect 10. What'll he do here? Last man up for the Japanese team.
You know, his 10 got him only a 4th place in the World's Championship. All 3 ahead of him also got 10s. Can you believe that?
No.
Well, he thinks this is his best event. Watch him wail. And he'll do a Higgins turn into Eagle Giants. He'll show you a couple of one-arm giants. He pivots into it, does another pivot, back around again. I think that's just sensational. Nice front summy catch. Now he gets set up for a piked half in, half out double flyaway. And Goto is doing himself proud. All right.
Kiyoshi Goto of Japan. A 9.9 for this star, helping his team win the team championship by about 3 points over the United States. In the men's overall, Yamawaki, the winner, second Kanai, and third, Tim Daggett of the United States. We'll be back with the ladies after this. We're back in Hamamatsu, Japan for the women's competition. As they warm up, we have to point out that it hasn't been all work here in Japan, as the U.S. gymnasts have had a chance to learn about ancient Japanese traditions and observe their beauty. To the delight of her teammates, Kathy Johnson modeled the traditional silk long-sleeved kimono and obi worn by young single Japanese women and brides. The young Americans were also initiated into the mysteries of the art of the Japanese tea ceremony. A tea ceremony closely related to Zen Buddhism, dating back some 400 years. A bow or two, and then a sip of the green tea. A little puzzled, but nevertheless, showing a delight at this new experience, an experience they'll remember the rest of their lives. And Diane Durham of Gary, Indiana, is a 13-year-old, 4 feet 6 inches tall, and weighs a total of 89 pounds. And earlier we had a chance to ask her about her goals for the future.
My goal is to be the best gymnast that I can in upcoming seasons and to be on the 1984 Olympic team.
And I'm happy to be joined by Kathy Rigby.
Chris, Diane, it's so exciting to watch this being one of her best events. Watch this move right there, right? Straddle back over to a handstand. She really has power on this event. Moving quite well right now. Whip to a handstand. Toe on, half turn. Now watch as she goes into 2 giant swings and getting ready for a dismount. Toe on. Front with a half off. Nice exercise. Great strength.
Diane Durham. And at 13, this is her 3rd international competition. Durham gets a mark of 9.55. Excellent. And getting ready for her 2nd vault is the smallest of the Japanese women, Meiko Morio, 14 years old, 4 feet 3, weighs 60 pounds. Hi in Japan means, yes, she's ready.
Chris, the gymnasts have the opportunity to do 2 vaults. The best of the 2 scores count. Now she'll do a pike sukahara. Nicely done. Now that vault is only worth a 9.5, meaning if she did it perfectly, she would only receive a 9.5. Let's take another look at it. Watch how much height she gets out of this. And that board is dead. It's so cold in this gym. And the equipment is a bit stiff, but she gets good height. Legs were slightly apart here. She pikes in. The judges are looking from the side, so they can't see her legs apart, so they may not deduct for that. Nice vault.
Tiny Morio of Japan is marked with a 9.4, her 2nd vault. The best score of her 2. The best credentials of all the ladies, Kathy Johnson.
You really have to give Kathy credit. She has hung in there, and not only has she stayed with it, but she's kept up with the younger ones. She's learned the difficulty. She's improved her routine every year, and she really has the technique now. Tight legs, tight body. Left flip, catch the high bar. Very nicely done so far. I think Kathy's worked an awful lot on her strength as well. Toe on to a handstand. Full twisting flyweight. Good routine for Kathy Johnson.
Kathy Johnson, who told us she has a new appreciation of this discipline, and after all these years, it's a high compliment to her. And here in the first rotation, a 9.65 for Kathy Johnson. More to come from Japan after this. As the United States men try to keep warm in this cold arena, the American ladies, after the first rotation, lead the Japanese. Now in the uneven bars, Emi Yasuda.
I think this is their big hopeful for the Olympics in Los Angeles. So far moving very well. Her form is pretty good. Her knees could be tighter than they are right now, but not bad at all. There's a very nice move. Right to a handstand. She's moving very well, quickly, just like the judges want. Getting ready for a dismount. Toe on, front, good landing, just a little bit low, but not bad at all. Good exercise.
15-year-old Emi Yasuda. And this trim young lady is certainly one of the hopefuls for the Japanese team, the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. And the judges give her a 9.2. Veteran Kathy Johnson is about to perform on the balance beam, which gives us an opportunity to listen to her philosophy of gymnastics and life.
Well, when I first started gymnastics, it wasn't a very, very popular sport. In fact, I think you could go out on the streets and ask someone, you know, if they knew the top-ranked gymnast at that time, and I don't think anybody could really tell you unless they were into the sport. Now you can ask people, you know, who are the top-ranked gymnasts, and they'll name you, you know, Nadia and Nellie Kim from the Soviet Union. And then they'll go on to say Tracy Talavera and Julianne McNamara, you know, and Americans, which is really exciting. My coaches that I'm living with right now are like friends, and they're beside me all the way. I realize I'm so much older than me, you know, most of my competitors. And I've already passed the age that most people retire, which is at 17 or 18. So, I mean, I, like, went over the hump, and in a way it got easier, you know, because I became confident with what I'd done in the past, and I'm very pleased with the way things have turned out. It's something in me always wants more. It's always reaching, thinking, no, I can be a little bit better. I can do a little bit more. And I'm just hoping that when the time comes, I'll know it's right. To just step back and look at all that I've done. You know, this is successes and failures alike, because they're both important. And realize how much I've enjoyed it. You know, my career and my sport. And then I'll just know it's time to go on to other things.
Well said, Kathy. A young lady who is a medalist from many international competitions, the World Cup, the World Championships, and here she is now on the balance beam, Kathy Johnson of Stone Mountain, Georgia.
You know, Chris, as you watch Kathy, you can really see a big difference in maturity and experience. Every move that Kathy does is extended to the fullest. She takes a half-an-hour ballet training every day on her own. She's performed this routine many, many times in competition, and she just knows exactly where to put everything. Shoulders right in the center of that beam for that back layout. Tight down. Watch this move right here. Jump straddle. Perfect. She's not hesitating anywhere in her routine. You can bet she's talking to herself as she goes through this routine. Round off back layout. Whoops, she had trouble with that in practice, and one thing that I'm sure she's going to work on perfecting for the future.
Second time competing in Japan. She's competed in London, Brazil, France.
So precise. You can do both. You can have the ballet and the tumbling movements. This is so smooth. 2 back roll extensions. Right into a back handspring. That's new for Kathy.
6 times a member of the national team.
Side split jump. Some of these jumps are very difficult, and she makes them look so easy. Getting ready for a dismount now. Round off, double twist. A little bit low on the landing. You know, Chris, when your body is not tight, especially on the balance beam, it's difficult to stay straight on Kathy's round off back layout. Her legs were separated a little bit. She leaned to the right, and her body just wasn't as tight as it usually is. 5/10 of a point off for that fall.
And her mark is a 9.3 and some consolation from assistant coach Ro Kreutzer. And as our young ladies try to keep warm by the portable heaters, let's go over to the uneven bars. And here comes Morio.
A little trouble on that mount. She was a full twist into a kip and was a little bit off on that. This little lady just swings through those bars as if there was no low bar there at all. She can do giant swings right here with barely bending her body. Moves quickly, just what the judges are looking for. Pull in, double back. Fast routine.
Meiko Morio of Kanazawa, Japan, who gets a 9.55 as the United States team, through 2 rotations, leads by 1.5 points. We'll be back for more after this. We've returned to Palassou, Japan. We're looking at Katsura Uchida, who was a member of the Japanese world team that competed in the World Championship.
You know, Chris, Katsura has many angular type movements in her dance, but she still has kind of an elegant presence about it. And she's going to get ready for a combination tumbling move. 3 back handsprings. More and more you'll see this on the balance beam. Her toes are a little flat on top. They should be pointed a little bit more. And getting ready for another tumbling move. They shouldn't pause quite this long. Back handspring right into a back layout. Legs bent. The judges will take into consideration the difficulty of that move. But eventually, I'm sure she'll straighten those legs out and make it look like it has the best amplitude possible. Aerial walkover. Solid. Gymnasts have to do dance movement, tumbling. More and more you'll see combination tumbling moves like we saw in the beginning. Jumps, leaps, turns. And here's going. You know, Chris, there are great possibilities in store for Mary Lou, and I think by 1984 we can look for the possibility of a medal in this event. Watch this opening. Round off, flip-flop, double layout. Just slightly pike on the end. Beautifully done. And Chris, that floor exercise mat is not giving them much spring. When I was 13 years old, this was my floor exercise music, so it's even kind of interesting for me to watch this. Called Russian Sailor. Little bobble there. Not too bad, though. This is a handspring front layout, step out, round off flip-flop, pike open. Beautifully done. She doesn't seem to run out of energy at all. Work a little bit more on her dance and have those moves perfected so there's no stumbling whatsoever. And her last tumbling run, round off back handspring, double twist. Endless endurance in this young lady. Very nicely done.
Lovely, bouncy Mary Lou Retton from Fairmount, West Virginia. And her score, a 9.75. And that has helped the United States ladies team to take almost a 5-point lead after 3 rotations. We'll be back for the final rotation from Japan after this. You're looking at 13-year-old Ayumi Shinohara, next to the smallest, a junior champion from Japan.
And Chris, she has lots of difficulty in her routine, but she's had a little trouble with her form. Knees slightly bent, but this could be because she's so young. You see that her dance is a little bit weak. Her first tumbling run, right here, you'll see she gets all the way to the corner because she has to build up speed, round off flip-flop, double back, a little bit low on that landing. Another thing the judges look for is the music to be exactly with the arm movements, the tumbling, and this music sounds a little bit like background music. Aerial walkover. Hopefully by 1984 she'll have cleaned up the form just a little bit. And hopefully get music that fits her routine a little bit better than this. Round off flip-flop, Arabian, right into a full twist. Tumbling in this routine. Once again, this is a great opportunity for these young gymnasts to get that international experience that is so necessary in international competition, especially world championships and Olympics. Double twist.
Fans here in Japan applauding 13-year-old Ayumi Shinohara. And the judges give the mark of 9.35 for Shinohara. Now get set for a dynamic, talented teenager. First of 2 vaults, Mary Lou Retton of Fairmount, West Virginia, 13 years old.
This lady has incredible natural timing. She does a handspring front with a half twist. Beautifully done. Great height. And I think by 1984, Chris, we're going to have somebody looking for a medal here.
She's proud, and let's see it again.
Watch the incredible punch she gets off that horse. Good run. She drives right into that horse. Fast punch off the horse. Front with a half way above, and that's just what the judges are looking for. Height, distance, and good position coming off that horse.
And her mark is a 9.50.
And once again, Chris, the gymnast has the opportunity to do 2 vaults. The better of the 2 vaults